How many times have you been just on the edge of a breakthrough, right? And just before you leap, right, you pull yourself back. You want that dream, right? You feel on fire, but something inside of you just hits the brakes, right? And then suddenly you're procrastinating, avoiding the work, picking fights with your wife, your husband, your partner, overeating, scrolling, numbing, boozing, relapsing. Listen, I've lived that cycle over and over and over again. But let me tell you something truly powerful that I've learned on this journey. You're not broken, okay? You're not lazy. You are just operating from a part of you that's terrified to grow. Okay, welcome back. I'm LJ, and today I'm going to show you exactly why you keep sabotaging your dreams, and more importantly, how to stop. Because once you understand this, you will unlock a level of self-awareness, spiritual power, and resilience that can actually transform your life from today. Okay? Because sabotage or self-sabotage, it's not a weakness. It's not because you don't want it enough. Okay? It's not laziness or lack of discipline. It's actually protection. Your subconscious mind, your ego is built to keep you safe, right? Not successful. So every time you edge towards something beautiful, love, success, purpose, expansion, your ego goes, wait, this does not match my programming. Okay? Because if the past taught you that love hurts, that money is the root of all evil, or money is dangerous, okay, or visibility gets you rejected, then your subconscious mind or your ego will do everything in its power to pull you back to what's familiar. Okay, it doesn't care about your goals. Okay, it only cares about one thing, and that is certainty. And that means even your pain, your chaos, the struggle, right? That's all familiar, right? Your system sees that as safe, okay? And the subconscious mind will always choose what's familiar over joy, okay? Not because it hates you, right? Or it doesn't want to see you do well, but because it believes it's keeping you alive. It's actually doing it for what it thinks is your benefit. Okay, and as I say, I've lived, this my whole life, right? And there was a time, so many times in my life where I would get started and everything was going well, and then boom, it would all crash down. I'd get a bit of sobriety for a time, and then something would happen and I would binge and relapse, right? I was doing amazing at work, okay? Next thing you know, I'd pick a fight with my partner, again, go on a bender, which would then stop me from showing up to work, which sabotaged my sales, and I was just a disaster, okay? And even if I started feeling like truly happy, right, I'd unconsciously chase something dark, right? Whether that be the drugs or the conflict or self-doubt or whatever, right? And I was always asking myself, what's wrong with me? Why do I keep fucking up? Why do I keep screwing things up? Okay, but nothing was wrong with me, right? I was just stuck in a loop, right? A cycle, a loop, and the loop was just keeps telling me, you're not good enough. You don't deserve this. You're not worthy. It's not going to last anyway. You're going to fuck it up eventually. So what does it matter? Okay, so I'd create just enough pain to return to what felt normal. I didn't need more willpower. I needed new wiring, right? I needed to rewire my brain. Okay, because the reason self-sabotage is so persistent is because it's tied to your identity, right? Your brain works like a thermostat, right? If your internal setting is 20 degrees of happiness and then suddenly you hit 30 degrees, your system kicks in and just cools it all down, right? That thermostat setting was wired from you're a child, right? If you didn't feel safe or you didn't feel loved or you didn't feel seen, you associate these things, love, success, with danger. So when you start climbing this ladder, you're unconsciously bring yourself back down. Okay. And again, it's not because there's something wrong with you or you're broken. It's because your subconscious is doing its job, and it's doing the job too well. It's trying to protect the old version of you, the one that was never safe, never seen, never celebrated, right? And at one point, the reason why you have this protection, because at one point it did serve you. That's the thing. It did keep you safe at some point in your life, or you wouldn't have these beliefs. But now you don't need them. It no longer serves you. So it's about now updating the system, right? I could give you plenty of examples where I would start to build, connections with people, but I'd unconsciously sabotage those relationships just because I didn't feel worthy, right? And my subconscious mind didn't believe that I deserved happiness. So it created drama and distance until I was back where I started, lonely and familiar. Right? So to break the sabotage, we need to reset the subconscious thermostat. Right? And at the root of all sabotage is a belief. Right? And there's six, there's more than six, but there's six, like, the most common ones, right? And they're limiting beliefs, and they're called limiting beliefs because they're limiting in nature, right? And I learned this through my mentor Chris Duncan and William Whitecloud, and they've got extensive knowledge on beliefs. It's, it blows my mind how amazing these guys are, right? But the six big ones was: I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I don't belong, I'm insignificant, I'm not capable, and I have to be perfect. Now, this is not a perfectionist. It believes there is a way that things to be perfect, right? So I had all of these, right? And they dictated every part of my life. And what's even crazier is they're all lies. They're all lies, right? Now, after all the ups and downs, prison, paralysis, addiction, I didn't just carry pain. I carried the belief I wasn't worthy of having a good life. And I wasn't good enough or capable enough to create a good life or a happy life, right? So what did I do? I kept manifesting circumstances that proved it to be true, right? And people don't understand this, right? We're not addicted to pain. We're addicted to proving our beliefs, right? Because our ego would rather be right than to be free, because our ego thinks it's going to die if we change. So it's threatened its survival, and it does not want to die. So it'll do everything to stay alive. And these beliefs, they form in childhood through our experiences of rejection, criticism, trauma, right? Even neglect, right? And sometimes it could be as little as not getting breastfed, right? And something as small as that we have no memory of, right? And then they become the lens through which we now view our reality. And then your subconscious makes sure that your reality always matches these beliefs. Okay, so and for me, I had multiple attempts to overcome addiction, right? And depression, right? And I kept failing. I kept failing time and time again. 3 rehab visits, 4 home detoxes, AA meetings, CA meetings, therapists. I'd done everything you could possibly think of. And I eventually came to the conclusion, I am not good enough. I am not worthy. I am not capable. And basically, I'm fundamentally broken. I am fucked. So no matter how hard I try to change, these beliefs continually sabotage my efforts. Every single relapse, every setback, it just reinforced that old belief. Okay? But what happens when we stop trying to prove the old story? Then we start writing a new one. We are the authors, we are the creators. Okay? And if we don't do this right, then we'll continue to get what we've always got. Because our brain will reinforce sabotage. Okay? Because and let's look at it from the scientific perspective, right? Neural pathways are like grooves in the brain. You'll see them, maybe grooves in the brain, right? The more that you walk a certain path, like self-doubt, procrastination, addiction, the deeper the groove gets, right? The path becomes the easiest route. So I'll always take the path of least resistance. It's like water running down a hill, it follows the grooves. This is why sabotage feels automatic. And this is what we have to understand, that every time you make a new choice, right? Even if it's a small choice, right? A tiny choice, you then create a new path. Okay, that's what neuroplasticity is, right? We can rewire our brains. It's proven now, right? So we can create new neural pathways, but it requires our conscious effort and also compassion. We need to forgive ourselves, but we need to consciously make choices, constantly, make new grooves for our so we can make these new paths. Okay? And And how do we do this from a practical sense, right? Everything starts with awareness, right? We have to be aware of what tracking the sabotage, right? What's the triggers? Okay, what belief am I trying to prove? Right, and when we're aware of these, and awareness is the first step of changing, you have to be aware. If you're not aware, you can't change. But once you're aware, then you have to have compassion. Stop berating yourself. Stop shaming yourself. Right? You understand sabotage is a protection response. It's not a moral failing. Right? So we have to show ourselves love and compassion. Okay, then we create safety. Right? The part of you that sabotages is scared. Right? So create emotional safety. Breathe. Ground yourself. Right? Reassure yourself. Listen, it's safe to grow. Okay, I am safe to grow. And then we start to embody new choices. Choose the small action that aligns with your highest self. Okay? And this could be something as waking up earlier, reading a personal development book, listening to an audio, taking that course, going to the gym, going for a walk, stop drinking soda, start drinking water. Whatever it is aligned with your highest self. And every time you do this, you weaken the old groove and you deeper the new groove. Okay? And every single day, anchor in your vision, right? This is so important. You need to know where you're going, right? So return daily to your heart. What is it you want? And I don't mean materialistically. If money was no object and there was no limitations, what would you be doing every day with your life? Okay? It doesn't matter if you don't know how you're going to achieve it. That's not your responsibility. You just have to have a clear vision from your heart. What do you truly desire? Write it down, visualize it, feel it. What would it feel like to have that already? What would it be like to be in this creation already? Right? Because this is where you can then visualize it, okay, in the invisible, and you start to bring it into the visible, right? Okay, because you cannot break sabotage without connecting to your deepest truth. Okay, and this is why so many people get stuck up in this, right? And this is why using your intuition is so important, because your intuition, not your ego, holds a roadmap to your highest path. Your ego will only use logic, right, based on the past. Now, are your past failures a good recipe to create a new future? No chance. Your intuition uses your inner knowing, which is connected to infinite possibilities, right? The voice that sabotages you, it shouts, it's urgent, it's filled with fear. The voice that frees you is calm, it's still, it's subtle, right? It's your intuition, right? Your ego says, you're a fraud, you're a failure. Your intuition says, you've been called to something greater. Your ego says, you will fail. Your intuition saying, you're going to grow, right? Every time you pause, breathe, and then ask your superconscious, what's the next obvious action? You then reorientate your life, right? You will get guidance. If you ask, what's the next obvious step or next obvious action, you will get it. Now, whether you take it or not, that's up to you, because it will tell you something. It might be something small. It might be read a book. It might be whatever it might be, but you will get guidance, and it's about following that guidance. It's about listening and trusting that voice. Okay? Because if I did not, I would not be doing this video right now. Right? My intuition guided me to YouTube. It guided me to coaching. It took me on this spiritual path, despite my ego's resistance, screaming at me that I'm crazy, that, how can you help others? So I had to trust that my intuition, regardless of all that chatter. Okay? Because sabotaging patterns, when you start listening to the voice, right, these sabotaging patterns, they will become weaker and eventually disappear. Now, this isn't about perfection, right? You occasionally might slip back into old patterns. That's okay. This is why self-compassion is crucial. Every step forward, every conscious choice rewires your brain a little more. Okay? It will transform you from the victim to the creator, right? You have a choice every day to either be a victim of your past beliefs or a creator of your future. Right? Sabotage is the language of the victim. Creation is the language of your higher self. Right? So it's about really, truly shifting. Instead of saying, like, why am I like this? Ask, who am I becoming? Right? Instead of saying, why does this keep happening to me? Okay? What am I ready to release? Okay? Instead of replaying old stories in your mind, Write new ones. You know, you are the power, right? You are the power. You have everything within you. Okay, every act of courage, no matter how small, right, pulls you out of sabotage and into your truth. It truly does, right? And please listen to me, right? You are not your past. You are not your patterns. You are not your pain. You are a creator, a warrior, a soul on a mission. The sabotage was never proof of your weakness, right? It was never proof. It was a cry from the old you, begging you to stay the same, to stay small. But the new you, the true version of you, is done hiding. So today decide, I will no longer betray my future to protect my past. I am done playing small. I am ready to create magic. Okay? And if that is you, drop this in the comments right now. I choose creation over sabotage. Okay? Let me know the old beliefs you're leaving behind and what new ones you're choosing instead. If you want to join me on this journey and see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, okay? And please, love yourself because I love you. I want you to have a great day. Take care, and I'll see you on the next one. And always remember, you're not here to survive. You're here to thrive. You're here to create. You're here to have it all. Love you guys. Take care. There's another video for you here, and you can subscribe here. Catch you on the next one.